So, as I'm recording this, I'm like in the midst of doing Hardcore Survivor in Dead by Daylight, and in one of my recent games, which likely is on screen right now, was against the Blight who, right from the start of the match, decided their plan was to slug all of us. And it kind of got me thinking about like the idea of if how you play a game says anything about the real life version of you. Every time I've seen this topic get brought up, which like isn't that often, I see people say like how you play doesn't say anything about who you are, and I just don't agree. Like, I think how you play a multiplayer game against real life people absolutely says something about who you are as a person outside of that game, whether that's like something small about you or literally everything about you. Not that anyone could know that. Like, that Blight, I don't know that Blight, I don't actually know who they are. But based on how they played, obviously that tells me, like, okay, so most of the time when I see this brought up, people give like sarcastic responses to this, like, yeah, so true, like I play Survivor because I love to have a hook stuck in me, and I'm like, it doesn't have to be a straight one-to-one parallel of people who play Doctor enjoy actually giving people electric shocks, or people who cheat in this game cheat in their real life. Although it could be that, it's likely not, right? But there is something I think that can be taken from various actions you take in a game, like especially when you're playing that game against real life people. And I don't think every action is like this, you know, like someone may have a lack of game awareness, and I'm not seeing that and being like, oh, I'm sure in real life they like walk into traffic because they don't look before they cross a road. Like, that's not, it doesn't have to be that literal or that big. And I don't think it tells you it will tell me your entire life story, like how you play in a match of Dead by Daylight. Like, just because someone is doing a couple of things that I think tells me about them, it doesn't mean those actions are telling me everything about who they are as a person as a whole, which like it should be obvious on its own, like, duh, I don't know you. But also, like, you can just see that if you read someone's Steam comments, they're gonna have plus, minus, plus reps, they're gonna have minus reps, they're gonna have varying comments because they're not the same in every single match. But like, just because they're good and nice and normal in some matches, that doesn't mean they're not. That doesn't mean they're normal in every match, right? Like, the bad matches don't tell me everything about you, but the good matches also don't tell me everything about you, right? Like, everyone, you know, everyone has a lot going on, okay? No one is that simple. I'm sure people have had a bad match against me and have come out of it been like, oh, she's like useless. And then other people have been like, oh, she's great. You know, she was really helpful. Like, people are, you know, they vary. So in terms of this match that I'm like kind of using as an example, it basically went like this. The killer came into the match and started immediately slugging and had a build like vaguely to help them with the slugging. Like, they had infectious fright, they had I forgot what else they had. But it wasn't like a full-on slug build, but like the perks they had were definitely a bit helpful, you know? At one point, all of my teammates were on the floor and I was being chased, and when I got a moment, I did a few aggressive teabags, to the killer. Blight then leaves me for a few minutes, but eventually finds me and downs me, and then spends almost 4 entire minutes standing over me and WSing. And then in in-game chat, once the match was over, I call them a loser. And I also report them because to me, WSing is reportable. And then the Blight says, I hope the teabag was worth it. In terms of what parts of this match I think are relevant in terms of like saying something about you as a person, for the killer, I would say going into a match with the intention of four-man slugging right from the start absolutely tells me something about you. And spending 4 minutes stood over me WSing even more so absolutely 1 billion% tells me something about you. And for me, because like I'm not immune to being analysed based on how I act in a game, we've got teabagging obviously tells them something about me, and calling the killer a loser obviously tells them something about me. I'm sure like everyone has their opinions on if going into a match and intentionally slugging someone or like the whole team is a valid way to play, but like to me, it's not really. I don't really care if you have a challenge, I don't care if you've got a 300 plus win streak that you really want to keep going. Like, I really don't care if you go into a match with the intention of slugging everyone from the start, or you turn the match into a mass slugging situation at like 4 or 5 gens and go out of your way to continue making that happen, then I think you're a loser. I just do. I think you can slug. There are times where you can slug and that's like whatever. Slugging for the 4K if you're doing adept, fine. Slugging for the 4K if both survivors are right around you, fine. Slugging when people are around, survivors are around you being stupid or trying to get saves or just like they're there, fine. Slugging because you're like, I like to slug. No, that's really embarrassing. That isn't, it's just not what the game is. I think when you're playing a multiplayer game like this, you should be thinking a little bit, like a tiny little bit, about what kind of experience the people you're playing against or with are having. And going into a match 4-man slugging people is so boring. And people say like, oh well, you can be on the floor for 4 minutes and nothing will even happen. Like you've got 4 full minutes for like your team to get stuff done. But a lot of the time teams don't get stuff done because people don't go into these matches expecting to be 4-man slugged, and most people don't know how to handle that kind of game because it's not what they've spent hundreds or thousands of hours actually dealing with. Like sometimes you can make it out of situations like that, but a lot of people just, that's not the game they're signing up for. And you also, like, as a killer, you don't need to do that. Like it's very like, it's odd. I will say it's like, this is very much like a me opinion, right? Like if someone is like I don't think like going 4-man slugging people is like, oh, you're evil. Like that tells me a lot about you, and it tells me that you're evil. Like I don't think it's that serious, but I am gonna side-eye someone, like anyone who does that, and bringing a build specifically for that even more so is like, oh my god, I just think you're embarrassing. Sorry, I really do. I just never in my life have I gone into a match and been like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna 4-man slug today. Like, I have never done that, and I think that does say something about who I am, like, that I just wouldn't do that. I also have never been in a match and spent 4 full minutes, or even 4 full milliseconds WSing someone, and I think that also says something about me, the same way that it says something when someone does do that. I think it tells you about how a person is when they do certain things or don't do certain things. I don't WS people. I don't stand in a gate teabagging the killer. I just leave. Like, I don't do those things, and I think that says something about me. In terms of this match, again, the killer, they bring up the fact I teabagged as a reason why they spent all those minutes stood over me, and even that I think tells me something about them, because like, why did I teabag in the first place? Like, do they think I did that because I'm just a dickhead who likes to taunt killers? Or did I do that because their playstyle was pissing me off? I'd imagine to anyone with a brain the answer is very obvious, that I teabagged because I was like annoyed at the match and was just getting out a bit of frustrations by bagging a couple of times. Like, Jesus. Would not teabagging and then not going on to call them a loser in chat have made me more like civil or nice? Like, yeah, obviously. But maybe I don't want to be civil and nice every single time. And that probably also says something about me. If you're dishing something out, then I'm going to give it back to you. But outside of situations like that match, teabagging isn't something I ever do in that context. Like, I'm not going to teabag a killer unless we're just messing around, right? In Chase, I don't taunt the killer for no reason. Or like, ever. I don't stand at exit gates. That's just not something that I do. And I think that says something about me. This killer's reaction to a few teabags that are clearly in response to the way they're choosing to play the game, being to spend 4 entire minutes stood over me WSing, is crazy. Like, just such an overreaction that it obviously tells me something about them. There's like no fully rational person is doing that. They're just not. Me getting a few teabags in and the killer being like, wow, this person needs to be punished, let me just spend 4 minutes acting out a sexual act over the top of them, is like deranged. Like, that's very strange. Like, I'm not joking, that's very strange. It gives anger issues, it gives like using the game to get some kind of power or control that they don't have in their real life. And like, that's not me saying that this killer or killers who do things like this have horrible lives and this game is like the only place that they can get their frustrations out. Maybe that Blight has a great life. Maybe I could ask every single person in their real life about their personality, and every single one of those people would say, oh yeah, Blight, he's just a cool guy. But even if that's the case, there is something internally with you if you're doing that. There just is. Because that's not a normal response to some teabags. It's just not. Like, it tells me something about you, and in Trust it doesn't tell me anything good about you. Obviously, this is like, I'm using this Blight as an example. There are other examples of this, like I mentioned, survivors who feel the need to stand at the exit for almost the entire timer for endgame. You're such a loser, and it tells me something about you in your life if you do that. Like, it's embarrassing. Like, why do you want that attention? Do you not win often? Do you just enjoy making people feel a bit shit if they've had a bad match and you just like want to rub it in more? Like, that's weird, bro. That is weird. Like, it is. A lot of people say with this game, you know, don't take it seriously, it's just a game. That's fine. Like, when people do that to me, if I have a shit match as killer and then a survivor or two teabags in the gate or stands in the exit for a really long time, I'm just like, okay, you're a loser. Like with that Blight, okay, you're a loser. Like, It's really that simple. I just think it's strange when people try and act like the way you act in a game, especially in a game that involves playing with or against actual real life people. Like, you can be like, oh, it's just a game, like they're not real. No, you're playing against real people. I think how you treat those real people, even if you are in a game and not in real life, treating them a certain way, that tells me something about you, bro. It just does. It doesn't tell me everything about you. You might be very normal in your real life, but why are you teabagging in exit gates for 120 seconds? You know what I mean? Like, that's weird. I'm not really sure, like, where I'm going with this in terms of, like, what conclusion I'm coming to. I just, like, I guess the point really is just that, like, how you act in a game, it does tell me about you. If you WS people for no reason, or even for any reason that you've made up in your mind, you're weird. Teabagging at the exit gate for ages. If the killer has done nothing to provoke that, you're weird. Teabagging, like, in chases and stuff. I know some people do that for, like, to get the killer's attention. Like, I'm sure I think there are some contexts where, like, maybe that's, like, fine. It's not something I do, really, unless the situation is, like, more jokey, because I think it can come off as, like, really dickish. But, like, I think all those things, they do say something about who you are as a person. Like, how you act in a game, you're not absolved of all of that, especially when you're playing against real life people, just because it's a game and it's not in your real life. Like, you are versing real people. And I think anyone who says, like, there's just no way you can see, like, certain things, like a killer. Like, bro, this blight stood over me for 4 full minutes and was WSing me. You think that doesn't tell me something about them? Of course it tells me something about them. It tells me that they're, like, strange and, like, have some kind of anger issue, because why are you doing that? Or, like, even if they weren't angry and they genuinely were just, like, wanting to get me back for teabagging, that's also weird. Like, you're also weird for that. Like, hello? And, like, people, you might think I'm weird as well for teabagging them and really disliking that their game plan was to slug from the beginning. That's fine too. Like, if you think I'm also weird for that, or maybe I'm weird for reporting that they were WSing, that's fine. But yeah, I don't know where this is going. I just think the idea that someone can do literally anything in a game and someone else can turn around and be like, well, it was just a game, like, that doesn't mean anything about who they are as an actual person, is ridiculous to me, and I think that's nonsense. I don't think things you do in a video game tells me every single thing about you, but there are just some things that I just wouldn't do. So when someone does them, I'm like, obviously I'm gonna judge that. Like, obviously if you stand in an exit gate for 2 minutes, teabagging, like, begging for the killer to watch you leave, I'm gonna think you're weird, because I just would never do that, because it's, like, not nice and you're, like, being weird. Anyways, that's all I have to say.